Afternoon, chaps and chapesses.
Good afternoon, David.
Good.
Just give me a wee second to get Facebook on board.
Aye. Get stuck in, lad.
Still a pain in the arse having to do that every time, David.
I know. Well, that's because you'll deal with daft things like Facebook.
Well, that's what I built my audience. And that's what you and I both built our social media platforms, so we can't really say much about it.
Exactly right.
Anyway, folks, welcome. Good afternoon, and welcome to Two Davies on the 30th of the 9th, 2024. And just we'll let a few berries get on board, then we'll get this thing underway. Anyway, any updates with you? How are you feeling?
I'm fine. I was waking up by my daughter at 3:45 this morning, but that's all right. And I'm feeling a bit tired because of it, but I'll be fine. I'll get through.
Okie dokie, that's fine.
They've given me a walker, and I've yet to go and use it outside because I'm still waiting the ironmonger coming doing the bars outside so that I can get outside. So once he does, I'll be out there. Except when it's snowing. I won't be doing it when it's snowing.
Aye. Right, anyway, we've got a good few in for both platforms now. We're up at 81. In fact, it's probably more than that now. It's jumping quite rapidly, you know. I'll sit at 81 and then it'll jump. It just went from 50 to 81 and like that. Anyway, we've got a fair few in for Facebook. We've got a fair few in from YouTube. Now, David, you and I were talking about this. Now, when we look at when I look at the analytics for the channel, because you tend naughty, right? When I look at the analytics for the channel, viewing figures are up, viewing hours are up, but audience members are slightly split. We've got audience members who are now watching the Indie Talk Davy broadcast at 10:30 in the morning and then watching this one on Watchback.
Yeah.
And we've got those that are watching this one and watching the Indie Talk Davy one and not Watchback. So it's quite interesting how the audience is split. But the interesting thing is that the views are up and our watch time's up to 5,900 hours a month, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know? So
the people will choose whatever suits them.
Aye.
You know, because the decision has been made to increase the amount of output the channel's got, then fine, thanks to you, obviously. That means that people have got a chance to watch you in the morning, whereas maybe in the afternoon it was difficult for them. Yeah. No, at the moment we've got 93 people on YouTube.
We've got 107 watching at the moment. Anyway, apparently it is 12 degrees and wet in Livingston, and it is wet and 13 in Hoyk. Thank you, Neil. What did the gear weather this morning?
It's looking a bit horrible here, but anyway.
Look, it's a dank, horrible day here and all, but it's 13 degrees and pissing it down, so there you go. That's the weather sort of good. Right, let's get into it, David, because we're up there the 100 mark. Okay. Two Davies, 30th 9th, 2024, and it's happy 25th anniversary to the Scottish Parliament and devolution. It won't last another 25 years. Either Scotland will be independent or subsumed into the integrated GB, and the only time you will see the name Scotland anywhere on a map or an atlas is nowhere, but you also see it on brands like whiskey and meat because they're profit makers for the Great British establishment.
Yeah. Bit sad, that. Bit sad.
Well, it depends on what way it goes, David. As I say, I don't expect the Scottish Parliament to exist in its current form in 25 years' time.
I'm out of this house once a week. When the ambulance picks me up, take me to Westmark. I make sure that whoever is on that ambulance with me is having a chat about Scottish independence, all that sort of thing, right? And I hope that our people that are on viewing this are doing the same.
I am absolutely positive they will be, David. Anyway,
Yep.
because it's the 25th anniversary of the opening of Parliament on Saturday, the English adulterous king, Sausage Fingers Big Ears, is up in the
Yep.
Parliament giving a speech. Now, I know one thing's for sure, David. You didn't watch it.
No, I did not watch, and I most definitely would not watch that man-child any place.
Well, anyway, I'm going to be straight with people. I didn't watch it either. I read the transcript of his speech, and I'll summarise it for you. He spoke about how brave the first MSPs. Thank you, Alistair. He went and all in Edinburgh. He spoke about how brave the first MSPs to the new Parliament were, and embarking on the endeavour of devolution. He then went on to spoke about the Parliament's loyalty to the Crown and the Parliament's relationship with the Crown. And then he went on to talk about the royal family's endearing love, or endless love for Scotland, their playground.
Well, to my knowledge, they're getting an extra. He's getting an extra 45 million to do up 2 palaces out of 7 that they've got, right? And that means, why can he not put his own money into doing up these places?
Well, he's going to smooth Scotland anyway, because he's making a fortune out of Crown Estates here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, honestly.
There's various claims on Scottish resources, revolve around the Crown and the Crown offices. So, anyway, he looked fucking bored. And when he was talking about the Parliament's loyalty to the Crown, you could have heard Patrick Harvey and Whom's a Yusuf laughing all the way in Glasgow from Edinburgh. As I say, but his endearing love for Scotland, that's not love for Scotland at all. The Crown actually having a presence here in Scotland gives them spurious rights to access our resources through the Crown Estates. Simple as that. Right, so that covers 25 years of devolution. Now, a lot's been achieved in that period, David. Even under the first 2 administrations, which were Labour, then Labour Lib Dem. But most of the advances have happened since 2007, as you're aware.
The Labour were good at putting together, like what do they call that financing that they did was
PFI, Public Finance Initiative, private public.
Yes, that's right. So that was your Labour for you.
That's also the Labour Party that only built one house for 7 years. And handed 1.5 billion quid back for the Scottish budget to Westminster.
Yeah, that was incredible. They hadn't spent 1.5 billion, but with a B, billion, and they handed it back to the Treasury.
Well, Jack McConnell couldn't find anything to spend on. Probably the SNP came to government and found that the schools estates were fucking needing updated, the hospital estates were needing updated. We need to embark on a programme of house building and infrastructure building. Well,
so why didn't Jack McConnell come up with any of this stuff?
Because it's not in the interest of the Union for Scotland to prosper.
Yes, all right. Okay.
And we'll get a wee bit more of that as we get further into the bloody thing. Right, let's move on.
Slightly sarcastic when I said that.
Of course. Let's move on. Minimum unit pricing of alcohol in Scotland to rise by 30% or 15 pence in real terms. That means that a 12.5% bottle of wine cannot be sold any cheaper than £6.09, and a 70 centilitre bottle of vodka will cost a minimum of £17.46.
Gets my vote.
Mine too.
Definitely gets my vote. Definitely. Because at the end of the day, it's like, we know that Scotland had a drink problem. Yep. Thank you, Strollers.
We also know, David, that this policy of the minimum unit pricing is saving 400 lives a year, and it's cutting hospital appointments or hospital admissions by over 2,000 a year. So it's saving the NHS a bloody fortune, because it means there's not so many drunks wobbling up on a Friday night, Saturday night to the A&E.
Well, the thing way back when I was a kid was the man came in rolling drunk on a Friday night with what was left of his wage packet.
That's obviously generous. I hope your pension's better than a state pension, because if you're on a minimum state pension, that is hell of a generous of you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
So, you know, I saw that. I actually saw that happening, and it was ridiculous. If we'd have had minimum unit pricing back then, maybe it would have had good effect.
Well, as you know, David, we had to go to the European Court because the Supreme Court was blocking Scotland for doing this. We had to go to the European Court and argue it was for health reasons, and that alcoholism should be treated as a health problem. No. So it is a health problem. So addressing it. Now, there might be people out there who are on lower incomes will drink less, which is going to be good for everybody all round.
Yeah.
And the argument is, of course, the drunks, well, they'll just move on to something else. You know, I can't see it myself. They'll just have one less meal a day to cover the cost.
Yeah. You might be looking at me with daggers coming out your eyes because I've said gets my vote. But honestly, Scotland needs to attack this problem. Attack it with everything we can, you know.
Nathan, we all still love a cold, crisp can of beer on a hot day.
By all means, and enjoy it.
It just means you're buying less cold, crisp cans of beer, and that's good for you.
Yeah.
You know, and as far as I'm concerned, Scotland's relationship with alcohol is pretty terrible. And I've been known to dabble myself and get pretty well pashed myself. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm in a fortunate position where they can stick it up to the minimum unit pricing up to 80 pence, 90 pence a pound. I'll just cut back accordingly.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But as I say, as a policy, it is working. It is saving lives. If increasing the price means it saves more lives, then it's got to be a good thing.
Yeah.
We have an atrocious relationship with alcohol, and the alcohol death figures have just been released, and they're up again by one person. But it's still over 1,000 people a year dying here of alcohol related illnesses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it is a big problem, and it really has to be addressed. And the money it will save in the NHS will be phenomenal.
The other side of it is that you're more well off. They then can afford to buy the alcohol, but they tend not to be problem drinkers.
No.
As the lower end of the population is.
Yeah, right? Well, if you're living at the lower end of the population, when it comes to the income scale, your life's pretty miserable, David. We've talked about this. Alcohol and drugs are a form of escapism.
Yeah.
You know, self-medication. Right, let's move on, because we've covered minimum unit pricing to death. We've talked about the studies that have been done and its success and things like that. We'll put all the figures up in the past. So we're not going to, let's move on. Right, as you said, David, when we were talking about the show, we are covering basically the triple whammy, but only two of them are related to Scottish Parliament and Scottish politics. So we're going to move on to return of peak time rail fares in Scotland.
Yeah.
Now, as you and I know, the Scottish government didn't want to do it. They had no choice.
Absolutely, had no choice.
They're having to move money into paying the public sector, and they're having to put money into sustaining the poorest in society, because of cuts coming down the road that we already know about for Westminster. And of course, Rachel Reeves announces it's going to be much worse, and that means all grants for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are going to get smacked.
Yeah.
So, as they say, when it comes to funding, all roads lead to Westminster. But in this case, I think this is a mistake. They should have funded the money for this one, David. The subsidy wasn't great. The amount of people using the railways was going up. That way the subsidy was coming down. It was getting people out of their car. It was a good policy for climate reasons. It's also a good policy for community reasons because if people on a train together, they'll start to get to know each other each morning.
Yeah, but also look at the amount of trips that have been reduced because of the new zoning in certain cities.
Aye.
For vehicles. Simple way is
dump
your vehicle off near the train.
Aye.
Take a train in, and it's seriously, it is much better. Really is.
Anyway, what ScotRail is saying about they're sorry the scheme was had to end as well.
Yep.
But they are offering other forms of discount in the forms of flexible season tickets and in season tickets. So they say there is ways to mitigate the extra charge of peak rail fares. But it means buying in advance. It means buying well in advance the ticket. Okay, as I say, it is a shame it's had to come to an end. I'd much rather they found the funding for it because it was working. I reckon give it another year and actually no having the peak fares would have paid for itself with the added amount of passengers using.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the peak fares would have paid for it. Because the trend did show that's how it was going, David.
Yeah.
There was a slow tick up as people came more and more aware of it.
But the problem was that we saw the amount of money that was having to be handed over because of paying for the public service workers and all the rest of it. It was impossible.
Can't pay for everything. Eventually, something's going to give. And which we know, as Westminster deliberately shrinks the Scottish budget, then we will get back to equivalence when it comes to public service use, because that's basically what they're after. They're after wiping out any differentiation from Scotland and England, and there is no way that Westminster is going to fight to bring the level of services in England up to the level of services in Scotland. So the only way to do it is to cut the Scottish budget and bring the level of services here down.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. The new Scottish branch office manager appoints deputy leader Rachel Hamilton, MSP, for
hang on, you missed one.
What have they?
Electricity.
David, that's a Westminster thing. That's nothing to do with Scotland. I'm on the Scotland section.
All right.
But if you want to cover it, I was talking about this in the headlines.
It was a triple whammy.
And
you did mention the two of them were Scotland's and the other one was Westminster's.
That's right. And that's a off-James decision to let electricity companies put the price up by 10% this winter, even though pensioners are being whacked on winter fuel allowances. It's almost as if the government doing that road had deliberately set it up to kill as many bloody pensioners as possible. And the other headline the Express doing that road in England was the cost of the winter fuel cut to the NHS is estimated to be 196 million quid. That's how much extra it's going to cost for care for people who become sick, but because they can't afford the heat and eat.
Yeah, who is it? There's a famous person. It's not the chap that does the money supermarket, but it's somebody like that. It said, "Look, all you old folks, carry on, run your heating, run your gas, run your electric, run it up as much as you can, because you'll no be going to prison, I can assure you."
And there's no room in the jails, that's right. And I remember seeing that. I can't remember who put that out
there. That's the best piece of advice I've heard.
Right, anyway, back to the new branch office manager, Russell Finlay. He appoints us Rachel Hamilton as the deputy branch manager of Conservative and Unionist Party here in Scotland. And she has been in the Holyrood Parliament since 2016 and has previously served as spokesperson for rural affairs, and the islands in her constituency is Ettrick, Roxburgh and Berwickshire. Now, what they're saying is they've got a monumental task in their hands to change the party. You're not kidding, they have, because the party membership of the Conservative Party in Scotland has just been announced, and they have shed 3,000 members this last year. So it went from 10,000 members down to 7,000 members. So he's going to have to try and rebuild the party from the floor up. And the other thing that apparently Mr. Finlay is going to do is, while he's at the Conservative Party conference this week, he's going to be telling the Conservative Party they can forget about Scottish independence, it's dead.
Okay. All right.
All right. So that covers the irrelevant Tories here and Scotland. Now, of course, what Finlay's doing is he's telling the public that he's going to rebuild the public's trust in the Conservatives here in Scotland. And there's only one answer to that, David. Nurse, we've got a new one that's needing fucking meds.
Well, he's already had meds. That's murder the fud.
I know, murder the fud most again. That's brilliant. Right, let's move on, David, because this one is a real story. And this is a story of sabotage by unions and unionist councils for something that the people of Scotland and the Parliament want.
Yeah.
Now, this is the story that Health Minister here in Scotland, Neil Gray, MSP, is trying to get the National Care Service back on track. After COSLA stopped all negotiations with councils and trying to get the National Care Service up and running. Now, what this is all about is a power struggle, David, and a sabotaging of the Scottish social care sector. Viewers in England will know that social care in England is non-existent. Well, social care here in Scotland does exist. Yeah. It's free at the point of need. It's free to all ages, no matter how old you are. If you have the need for social care, you'll get it. But what they wanted today was standardise it and make a sister organisation to the NHS called the National Care Service. Now, the Parliament passed the bill in 2022, and they went into negotiations with the councils. Now, when it came time to transfer the council facilities, because these are council-run facilities, and council staff to the National Care Service, the unions kiboshed it off terms and conditions. Now, the unions were demanding £15 an hour just to start talking. And of course, the Scottish Government back in 2022 were offering £12.75 an hour.
Yeah, we know fine well that would have been way over that by now anyway.
Aye, it'd be up to £15 an hour because of the inflation bust in 2 years of pay rises that they've just had. But of course, as we know, David, to be fair, money's worth less. Your pound in your pocket doesn't go as far.
But here's something I'm going to tell you from a personal point of view, right?
Right.
My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, died a few weeks ago, right? Up until that time, she was looked after. Sometimes there was respite, and she was put into a care home, right? But most of the time, she was at home. She was suffering from dementia, and that means that she had to have 4 sets of visits per day.
Aye.
Four visits per day. The father-in-law, he was looking after the mother-in-law, but there was little he could do for apart from feed her, whatever, right? But the actual people that came in, I got a chance to talk to them, each one of them as they came in, and the question I asked them, I said, "How do you feel about the National Care Service?" And they all said, every single one of them said, yes, bring it on, because it gives them a chance for promotion.
Well, actually, that was bringing me the next part of what I thought. That was bringing me the next part
Make them like nurses. Make them like nurses. Somebody's that.
As I say, that brings me to the next part I was about to redo. Now, the staff were misled by their unions. As we know, the staff were keen to get into the National Care Service. But since the unions started the fiasco, we've now had Labour and Tory councils, or Labour and Tory coalition councils, pushing back on the idea of handing over the responsibility for social care to central government. Now, as we know, if it was handed out to central government, it could be streamlined, sister agency to the NHS. It would have meant services would have been integrated and services would have got better.
Why then did these unionists knock back the National Care Service?
What they're doing, David, is they're trying to spare the blushes of Westminster. No just to Scotland got a functioning social care system, free to all who need it, but to actually have it evolve into a national care service, get structured properly and become even better would have been even more embarrassing for our imperial masters in Westminster, where England and Wales barely has a social care system whatsoever. And when you do get it, it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's the thing. They're holding Scotland back to save the blushes of. Now, as it said in the comment here, Starmer's been looking at the idea of a national care service, and he's been looking at it because it's been mentioned here in Scotland. And of course, as we know, the Parliament here in Scotland, a lot of Labour MSPs here also voted to put that through.
Yeah.
You know? So, as I say, the Parliament has already passed the bill. Initially, the councils had agreed. Now they're playing funny buggers. Last week, Cosler shut the negotiations down. Neil Gray's got a grip of Cosler this week and said, get them back round the table. We need to get this sorted. The people want it. The Parliament wants it. We need to get it sorted. So good luck to Neil in getting it sorted. Let's see what he can do. Okay. Right, I guess we better fan out because time's moving on. We're almost halfway through the show. So we better fan out to the wider UK. And it's not gone well for Labour, is it? Really, it's become a bit of a disaster.
I'm still convinced that the reason that Starmer is doing what Starmer's doing is he's putting away as much money as he can into his own coffers before he gets booted, because that's what's next for him.
Well, anyway, as well as all the controversy around all the freebies that he's been getting, which has led to Rosie Duffield, an MP who's on the right of Labour, actually, resigning. She says she just couldn't, it's just too sleazy. She couldn't associate herself with it, especially with the optics of it, with the way they're smacking the poor, you know. But we'll get a wee bit more of that anyway. Sir Keir, the kid starver and Granny Freezer, is doubling down on his party for the workers stuff.
Yeah.
When you think about who he's whacked to kids who don't work, to childcare. He's whacked to pensioners.
Yep.
They don't work. Winter fuel allowance. Now he's going after the students. Now, when Starmer made his pledges to get to the top of the Labour Party, he was talking about getting rid of these tuition fees and writing off student debts. Yeah. Right? Fast forward to now. They're talking about taking the 50 billion of student debts held by the UK government and what they're calling off-booking it. Now, you and I both know what that means, David. That means they're selling the debt off. Okay, so folks, if you don't know what off-booking means, it means they're fucking selling off the student debt.
Because of the state of the economy at the moment, right, there are a lot, we've got to come clean on this. There's a lot of students that aren't paying that much in the way of student debt at the moment, because you only start paying once you start earning a certain amount.
22,000 a year, I think it is, David.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody may correct me. DC made a massive move. We know that Rosie Duffield is a vile individual, but that's not the point. I mean, if the scandal around Labour is that fucking bad that a vile individual can't handle it, you know, there's more to come.
Oh yeah.
Now let's get back to this doubling down on people who don't work. So they're off booking student loans, in other words, they're selling them off to private equity companies to collect. And It appears that they're going to whack student tuition fees up by 13.5% over the term of this Parliament. Now, what they're saying, David, is the reintroduction of the subsistence subsidy for students will offset the extra cost. But the interesting thing is, the subsistence grants for students to help them with their living expenses, it will be means tested.
Yeah.
Do you see a pattern here? Yeah. With Richard Murphy's right. That seems to be the way it's going. Benefits will all be means tested under this model.
Yeah.
So now we're talking.
They are marching down that road, and we're going to get it for everything. The first thing that is going to go in Scotland, obviously, is the free prescriptions. Free prescriptions are just going to go woof, overnight. And you're talking about somebody that's on a wage paying £9.30 per item.
Okay. Right. So, as I say, but when we're talking about, so he's targeted people who are not working. The targeting students is definitely a mistake.
Yeah.
And increasing tuition fees is an economic blunder and a half.
Yep.
Dumbing down on the population means that people who have got high-tech industries are not coming here to build anything, not coming here to invest, they're not coming here to hire talent, because they'll not fucking be here.
That's right.
They're actually crippling the economy of the future with their stripping out of education, they're stripping out of health, they're starving the young and killing off the knowledge of the old. These people are fucking stupid. Oh dear. But as I say, he's doubling down on anybody that's not working is going to get hammered. The sick, the unemployed, students, and the elderly. Yeah. And to say that students are not economically productive it's not true, because they are the talent of the future. They're actually in training to be economically productive in the future.
Yeah.
So it would appear that Labour are now the party of anybody who is employed. If you're not employed, for Labour, get it up, ye. Right.
Ouch.
And then, of course, it's also come to light that in the budget, it's probably going to happen that Rachel Reeves, the ex-employee of the Bank of England, that fully owned and bought up a member of the financial sector in London, is going to raid private pensions and workplace pensions to the tune of 16 billion quid, David.
Yep.
One
thing, if you don't mind me saying, Ian McNeil's put up a nice point. He said administration of the any benefits will end up costing more.
Well, we found that out when we scrapped the prescription fees here in Scotland. We actually saved 2 million quid. We didn't weigh anybody up. We just moved them on.
Also,
and get rid of
something I'm going to keep on saying each time I'm on this screen is a pension. A pension is not a benefit.
Anyway, where was I? Anyway, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, she's going to raid the private pension and workplace pension pots of the worker, of the employee. Anyway, how's it going to be done? Well, what is it she's planning on doing, David? Well, she's planning on hitting employers. Right. Now, employees, thank you. Employees pay national insurance on earnings, paid national insurance at 8% on earnings from £242 to £967, and then it drops to 2% and earnings above £967. Okay. Yep. Employers, on the other hand, they pay national insurance at the rate of 13.8% on all earnings over £175 per employee. Okay, but employers were getting to set some of that off by making contributions to employees' pensions. So they were getting a dispensation on their national insurance contributions by the amount they were putting into employees' contributions.
Okay, that's clear. Yeah.
Well, Rachel Reeves is going to scrap that dispensation they've been getting and make them pay the full whack, whether they're paying into an employee's pension or no.
So now we've got a situation where the employees they're going to end up getting stuff taken off them one way or another.
Yes, because there's a legal requirement with the workplace pension for the employer to make a contribution.
Or you might find that they'll get rid of one or two people.
Or they won't hire any more, or further wage negotiations will need to be stunted, and more likely prices for what they manufacture will go up to cover this cost. So there will be an inflationary pressure created by this.
Yeah.
But she's going to get the money from somewhere. Well, once again, she's not hitting the worker, she's hitting the worker's employer. Now, in a flat market like this one, or in a contracted market like this one, there is the argument to say that that's not a great idea.
No.
You know, the economy is already contracting, and you bring in an inflationary factor, which is going to make it contract even more. It's economic illiteracy at its bloody best, especially as there are other ways to raise that money and invest in the economy at this point in time. This is the point in time where they need to really invest in the economy. But there's no imagination in this mob.
Yeah, David, you know, we've discussed this time and time again. You know, there's a way whereby they can actually go to the Bank of England and just say, give some money.
Pick up the phone.
So,
Bank of England, print me money. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. Providing it's going to house building or road building or whatever, right? Fine, we're going to get that money. So what's the problem?
There isn't any problem. It's the stupid fiscal rules that have been invented. But let's get back to this. So Reeves is going to slap employers at a point when the economy is contracting. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But I say, once again, she's avoided taking it directly out the employee's pocket. But when you project it into the future, when it comes to the value of that workplace pension or that private pension fund, the worker's going to get smacked anyway because there'll be less getting into the pot.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Let's move on. Right, we've had the Coles Gate, we've had Freebies Gate, and now we've got the corporate takeover of the Labour Party and the manipulation of political declarations on donations. So, what's this all about? Well, it would appear that on May 28th, well in advance of this election, the Labour Party received £4 million of a donation from a Cayman Island-based hedge fund. Okay. Now,
remember, it's not illegal to receive a donation like that, providing they declare it and they do the writing in 6 weeks. And we're talking about before the actual election, and we're actually talking about the date of this particular amount of money was given over as a donation. And David and I found out that they had managed to do it within 2 days of the election date.
Yeah, but the reason why they'd held that information back and hadn't started the declaration process when they got the money was to hide it for the electorate on the run-up to the election. So it meant that as it went into the process 2 days before the election, within the 6 weeks time the vote to declare it, it meant that we didn't get to find out about it until 8 weeks after the election. Now, in a political nation this big, and what it is this particular company invests in, you would have to say to yourself, this one should have been the public interest for Labour to declare. Anyway, what's it all about? It's called Quadrature Capital, based in the Cayman Islands, gave Labour £4 million before the election. They say it wasn't declared until it didn't appear in the official records until after the election. Anyway, what is it this mob are into? This Quadrature Capital. Well, they've got hundreds of millions of pounds invested in fossil fuels. They've got the best part of £100 million invested in private healthcare companies. They've got over £100 million invested in arms companies, and they are also invested in one AI firm, and that one AI firm would be Palantir, and that's the one we were talking about that's been employed to restructure and compile NHS England's records while selling off that information to private health companies.
Well, it has to gather that information to be able to do its job in the first place. Yeah. So therefore, it's there. It's a done deal.
Now, this is an investigation being done by open democracy, and they say Starmer's got a habit of doing things like this when it comes to declarations of gifts and monies. And he says that's why we didn't get to find out about the coins and all that until after the election, because of the way he was declaring them. And apparently his 20,000 in clothes is a wee bit more because some of it was declared as office expenses. There you go. So the question we've got to have right is, how long was the negotiations for this £4 million go on before they got it? Could that be something that affected Starmer's decision to walk away from the £28 billion investment in green energy?
Yeah.
Could that have something to do with Labour's now stance on licences issued for the North Sea?
Yeah.
Could it very well be affecting Wes Streeting and his drive for private sector to take up the slack in the NHS?
Yep.
And of course, on AI, Starmer says we need to get into this stuff big style, and is this particular hedge fund going to be given a role in Starmer's AI for the public services? Interesting, David.
I think if you put it all together and you put this behind the man in charge, Keir Starmer,
but the other thing
he's looking to put as much money in his own treasury, Keir Starmer's treasury.
No, interesting. I'm interested in the pattern here, and it's a pattern which is infected UK politics for the last at least 14 years and longer, since Tony Blair actually. But that's where a big donator gives, and in return they get a contract.
Yeah,
it's worth much more. Now, what we have to do now is with this mob that wanted the other 4 million. And by the way, since Starmer came to the leadership of the Labour Party, he's accepted 8 million in donations for corporate interests.
Yeah.
Now, what we've got to watch for these is where contracts start to go. Because we see that with Tory donors, big donations, contract given. We need to keep an eye on that now. Because the other one I hadn't finished mentioning there was arms. Could that have to do with Starmer's stance on the arms to Israel? Is this mob who are heavily invested in Lockheed Martin and things like that, are they making money? Of course they're making money at the war. So could that be why Starmer's sitting on his horns? A lot of questions here. And we have to watch what happens going forward with these specific areas. Fossil fuels, private healthcare, and the NHS.
Yep.
AI in public services.
Yep.
And continued warfare. And watch where contracts are being handed in these fields. You know, and have a look behind that.
In fact, I would say to any of you that if you've got access to David's or my timeline, then for goodness sake, if you find any lucrative contracts being awarded by the Labour Party to large business and it looks a bit dicey, then tell us, let us know about it.
And when these contracts are awarded, no matter what the name of the company is, have a look and see who the backers are and see if this capital company, what they called again? They are called Quadrature Capital. Whatever companies get these contracts, let's see if this mob's invested in them. Right, class action, three gears there. Class action, I have to say, Keir has had many nicknames since he came be the Labour leader, especially since they came to power. But three-gear Keir is one of them. Then with two-tier Keir, with kid-starver Keir. Now we've got Granny Freezer Keir. So, you know, Keir has had many nicknames in the short 12 weeks in charge of the UK, and none of them have been bloody good ones.
True.
In fact, I mean, I don't know if any of you follow this one on YouTube, but what's it called? Well, I can't remember now. It's a takedown of the news. Anyway, and the boy that did that, he actually rhymed off about a dozen of these bloody names that Starmer's had since in 12 weeks, you know.
But he did insist that his father was a toolmaker.
Aye, he's the biggest tool he produced.
That one there.
He's the biggest tool he produced. Right, anyways, I say, folks, it's important when Labour are holding out government contracts, the companies that are given these contracts, it's important that we look at who owns these companies and we trace it back as far as we can to see if these venture capital companies who have been given Labour money are behind the companies that are now getting contracts. That's how we'll have to look at it going forward. And I dare say people with open democracy in the Canary and other places like that will be doing that sort of thing. You know, because I know I will be. Every time they award a contract to anybody, I'm going to go and see who owns it, who backs them, and see if I can trace it back to these venture capital companies. Now, this isn't the first hedge fund that's had money for Labour. We also have a hedge fund that's run by Lord Taylor, Brian Taylor, I don't know if it's Lord Taylor, but Taylor. And he's given 500 million to the Labour Party. And here we go, first in the sweepstake. 6 months to a year for kids Starmer to be out of office. Oof.
Yep.
You know, well, it's funny that because I was watching Colonel Davies yesterday, and he reckons he'll be out of office quicker than that. He reckons there'll be a scandal breaking some point this week.
Yeah, I thought it was to do with the House, but David says no, it's something else.
Aye, apparently, if you listen to the right wing nutters down that road, like Nadine Dorris and people like that, they're all hedging their bets on a sex scandal.
Well, interesting.
But I'm not getting involved in it. You know, we'll wait and see what transpires this week. You know, but it would appear that politicians don't resign for scandal anymore.
Yeah.
You know. Right, so we need to keep an eye on these where contracts go. Now that Labour's taking big corporate donations and taking freebies as if they're going out of fashion, especially if you're in the front bench. Right, let's move on to wider afield, David, because time is really running on. Zelenskyy was in America to present his plan for victory to the Democrats and the Republicans as we run up to this election. Now, he was accused of interfering with the American electoral procedure by Trump's camp because he went and met the Democrats somewhere in the Midwest at an arms company during the Democrats' campaign till obviously they're on campaign right now. It's an election. Anyway, he's met Biden and Kamala Harris and showed them his plan for victory. He then meets Trump, and Trump tells him, "Stop it, stop the war right now."
Yeah. But hang on. His plan for victory is lob a load of missiles at Russia. That's what he's planned for. You know.
After we get the American potential president's reaction to his plan, we'll go into what his plan is. All right. Anyway, Trump tells him to stop the war. He then upsets Trump by telling the press that Trump doesn't know how to stop the war. And but what is his victory plan? Well, it was just a shopping list. It was a list of weapons that he wants the US to supply. He's in similar things with the UK and Europe as well, supply so that he can batter the hell out of Russia with missiles. But remember, folks, NATO's position here, and it has not changed, is that Zelenskyy and Ukraine will be given defensive weapons, not offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Okay. But what Zelensky's plan for victory was a shopping list of offensive weapons that he wants the Americans to give him. He's got no chance. And as we know, David Lammy was talking about maybe giving them missiles. Well, that was soon shot down because David Lammy hadn't spoke to NATO, and NATO would tell him, our position has no changed. To get defensive weapons and nothing more to hold the lines. Simple as that. And as we know, NATO have talked about this being a 10-year meat grinder. So it looks as if the only weapons Zelensky's going to get out of NATO countries is defensive weapons, which means holding the lines the best he's going to be able to do.
Yeah. And if he managed to hold the line, that means holding the line with all the areas and regions that he has lost already.
Aye.
And to my way of thinking, he'd be better saying, right, Putin, let's do a deal right now based on what you've got and what we've lost.
Aye.
You know, all this is doing is killing people. You know, that's all it's doing.
Aye.
Yeah, it's killing people in Russia, and it's killing people in Ukraine.
Right. As I say, time's moving on, David, so we better move on to the other conflict which seems to be getting covered here at this point in time, and that is Israel's massacre in Gaza and its expansionism, trying to expand it to a regional war in the Middle East. Netanyahu is trying to tip his deck to Zayn. So anyway, what they've been up to, David? Well, apparently they've got tanks and troops on the southern Lebanon border, ready for a land attack. And apparently they've been shelling Yemen, claiming that they're taking out Iranian supply routes for weapons for Hezbollah and for the Houthis. Which you have one supply route, it's moved to another supply route. You know, the idea that these people don't have contingency plans, it's just crap. You know, absolute rubbish.
But Israel are already on many different fronts. Do they really want to be? You know,
they don't have the manpower.
Lebanon as well, especially if Iran become involved.
John, for 20 quid, I'll read that one out. What do you call a Labour Prime Minister with a speech impediment? Quiche Starmer. Yeah. For 20 quid, John, I'll read that one out for you. All right. Thanks, John. That's very generous of you. Generous of you all, actually. Anyway, so it looks like Netanyahu is trying to escalate the situation to keep himself in power, because as we know, as long as they're at war, the elections in Israel.
Yeah.
So he's keeping himself in power and out of jail at this point in time. And that means the ongoing genocide in Gaza, where people are starving, becoming extremely ill because they're being starved of medicines and foods, electricity, all the usual seed shite. Well, more or less got a news blackout for the West Bank right now. As a Western media has been expelled for 45 days, so fuck knows what's going on in the West Bank. We've got people being butchered in Beirut by these bomb pots. For this bomb pot Netanyahu, and we've got the Houthis allegedly getting pelted on an Iranian supply route. I can assure you that supply route will have already changed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu will only be able to keep it up for so long because the Israeli economy is failing. Eventually, sanctions are going to cripple it. One area of the Israeli economy which was booming, as we know, David, was the tech sector. But when you start blowing tech up, people stop buying your fucking tech.
That's right.
You know, so blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies and 24 pieces of medical equipment means that nobody's touching Israeli tech companies at this point in time. Nobody. Right. So that's basically what's happening. And hundreds, 500 odd people were killed in Beirut yesterday, I think it was. Or over the course of the weekend. Absolutely, it's horrifying, David. But widening the conflict out has done something else in the Western media. And that has taken everybody's mind and eyes off what's going on in Gaza. The other thing that's interesting about how this has been portrayed in the Western media is that anybody who stands up for the Palestinian people in Gaza and who stands against that genocide is either anti-Semitic or an Iranian proxy in the region. So if you're a Yemeni person who is horrified at what's happening to the people of Gaza, then of course you're an Iranian proxy. You're a puppet. You're not somebody who's interested in humanitarian law. You're not anybody who has sympathy for the Palestinian suffering. No, you're an Iranian proxy if you're in the region. It's interesting how these things are portrayed in the press. It really is. You know, so Lebanon and a Hezbollah Iranian proxy.
Well, we had President Erdogan was speaking up for the Iranians the other day there.
Yes,
and also Hezbollah. Who was it? Was it the French that were putting down the Hezbollah? We're actually calling Hezbollah terrorists when in actual fact they've been recognised by the UN.
Yes.
You know.
As I say, it's just how it's being reported. If these people oppose the Israeli genocide and treatment of the Palestinian people, then they are called proxies. Yeah. They are called Iranian proxies. There are no people who
if that's the case, then we'll start calling Israel American proxies. How's with that?
Aye.
Because you've got Israel and you've got Ukraine are both American proxies.
Aye, that's an interesting one. Banner Oak's been making the press for a lot of reasons. Like she thinks that maternity leave costs too much money. She would like to scrap that. And on immigration, she doesn't want to see people coming here who see Israel as their enemy. Not so much their enemy, just people who are against what Israel's doing.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, David, we're going to finish off quite quickly on an environmental story.
Yes.
And on one side, it's about electric generation, and on the other side, it's about the end of a particular form of steel making in Port Talbot. Now, today is the last day of the last coal-powered fired electricity plant in the UK, and that is at Radcliffe-on-Soar in England, and that sees 142 years of electric generation by coal in the UK come to an end. The very first coal-powered power station in the UK was in London in 1882, and it was invented by Thomas Edison. and that brought power to the streets of London from a power plant which was built at Holden Viaduct. So 142 years on, the very last coal-powered power plant on these islands comes to an end. And also today, blast furnace number 4 at Talbot Steel, Tata Steel at Talbot, shuts down. And that brings an end to blast furnace production of steel on these islands. Now, Port Talbot Steelworks will go on. Apparently it's getting 2 new furnaces, both electric arc furnaces, but they don't need as many employees, so 2,800 people will lose their jobs directly across Tata Steel, and many more in the supply chain. But when it comes to the upgrading of the furnaces to make them cleaner and greener, no bad. Ending the use of coal for power stations, well, we still use gas and oil for power stations. So
yeah, but you and I did the working out on the amount of gas-fired power stations and oil-fired power stations in the UK, in England. Sorry.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Right. Yeah.
In fact, there's a couple of diesel-powered diesel
right.
generators in London.
That's right.
Yeah. I forgot when I did. We did a whole show on that stuff, didn't we?
Yeah.
Aye. Right, folks, that's it for the day. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. At the peak, there was 198 of you watching. I want to thank everybody for contributions. I want to thank mods for moderating. And do you like to add, David?
No, apart from, bye guys. Bye, Davey.
Bye, David. Now, folks, remember, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share across your social media platforms, please. That all helps. Oh, David, I forgot to say before you go, we broke the 2,500 mark.
Oh, very good. Very good.
I put a wee appeal out. There's only 46 to go, and I wanted to get there for Christmas, so I put a wee appeal out in my timeline and got up the next morning, and we were on 2,501.
I see you. I put out a notification about your Christmas show.
Yes.
Would you like to mention it now?
Aye. For using YouTube, you don't know this, but Sarah and I do a Christmas Day broadcast for those who are on their own at Christmas. We've been doing it for the last 4 years, and this will be the first time it will go on YouTube as well as Facebook. Now, during the Christmas show, anybody that wants to join us will be sent a link into their messenger on Facebook and or into WhatsApp if they want to on WhatsApp, and you can click that link and it'll bring you into the green room, and Sarah and I will have you on and we can have a chat. But we do a Christmas special. We've been doing it for the last 4 years, the last 3 years. This will be the 4th year. So if you're alone on Christmas Day, people, don't be. Come and join Sarah and I for a few hours. We'll be on. What time we start the Christmas special, Sarah?
11 o'clock.
We'll go on from 11 AM to about 2. Or until people go to get their dinner. You know, we'll just leave it open for a couple of hours and get a chat. But don't be alone on Christmas Day. Come and join Sarah and I. Okay. Thanks for reminding me about that, David.
Right. Okay.
Now we better go.
Bye, guys.
Bye, folks. Look after yourselves. See you on Thursday today or again. And I'll see you tomorrow morning, 10:30. Bye for now.